viva defense of a research proposal for a doctoral program. Welcome to Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas. We are so thrilled today to listen to Jeisson Steven Méndez Lara's viva. Her research proposal is entitled ELT Colombian Textbook Writer Struggles in the Industry of ELT Textbook Production. The mechanics of the presentation is going to be like this. Jeisson is going to have 30 minutes to make his presentation. And after that, we're going to have the examiners giving their opinions and questions. Everyone is going to have only 10 minutes to do that. And the order in which we normally have these interventions is the international examiner goes first, then our national examiner, and then our local examiner. After that, Jeisson is going to have like around 10 minutes only to wrap up in a global answer all the comments and questions made by the examiners. After that, if this is optional, if the research proposal director wants to make a short comment, that is more than welcome. After that, the examiners are going to move to a different room and they are going to deliberate. After that, we're going to get back together to this room and we're going to read the minutes for the viva, and that will be the whole academic event, okay? So before we start our agenda for today, I want to introduce our panel of examiners. Astrid Núñez Pardo, she has a doctorate in Ciencias de la Educación from Universidad Pedagógica y Tecnológica de Colombia, RU de Colombia. She recently retired from Universidad Externado de Colombia after almost 30 years of hard work. And thank you so much for that hard work. Her research and teaching trajectory was celebrated with the Claire de Silva Prize awarded by the Colombian Association of English Teachers as a copy. Astrid Núñez was also acknowledged as a pioneer in developing materials for teaching and learning English from a critical and decolonial perspective in Colombia by the program 200 Pioneer Women in Colombia. So congratulations for that. She has also made the Colombian ELT community very proud with her contributions to the field of material design. She has extensively published English language teaching materials and authored English language texts. Welcome, Astrid Núñez Pardo, to this viva.
Thank you.
Carmen Helena Guerrero Nieto, a respected figure in the ELT community, is a shining example of intellectual rigor. She teaches research seminars for our ELT and education major at Doctorado Interinstitucional en Educación. With a doctorate in second language acquisition and teaching, she has carved a unique niche in the field with her dedicated and serious work on language policy analysis from a discursive perspective. Her journey began as an undergraduate student unraveling the tapestry of existential threats within the Caribbean and Bogota in the novel Celia Sepúlveda. Her critical work, a testament of her intellectual care, has guided her permanent and independent research, which was also awarded the Claire de Silva Prize, awarded by the Colombian Association of English Teachers as a copy, for which she served as president for several years. Welcome, Carmen Helena. Alexander Stefanell is a professor of Spanish in the Department of Language and Literature at Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee, the United States of America. He has a degree in modern languages, a master's degree in linguistics, and a doctorate in Latin American literature. Dr. Stefanell has extensive experience as a reviewer and as an academic peer in the peer review process of journals of great importance and international impact. He has widely collaborated as a visiting faculty with the academic literacy development for several programs in Colombia and worldwide. He's very supportive, and traveling and reading are his greatest passions. Welcome, Alexander Stefanell. And I also want to introduce the star for this Viva, Jeisson Steven Méndez Lara, as part of his journey in our doctoral program, has published on ELT Textbook Writers a worldwide review of this role. In this review article, the book writer is considered a subject who works on his accounts as a writer, his points of view, and the struggles that arise with the publishing industry, recognition, rights, and fees regarding textbook creation. Jeisson's doctoral research is rooted in his curiosity and experience as a textbook writer for English language learning himself. He is a faculty member at Universidad de Colombia. Traveling is also a passion for Jeisson. He has just arrived from Africa, where he visited Ghana. So, Jeisson, all the best in your presentation. And I also want to introduce another star for this project, Dr. Pilar Méndez Rivera. Pilar Méndez embodies the Colombian Caribbean from where she originates. Her sense of humanity, well-being, and lovely consideration had made her a wonderful colleague and a friend. She earned a full-time teaching position as Joven Talento at Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas. Later, she became a doctor in education, researching teacher subjectivities in Colombia and documenting the historical trajectories of educational thought and its political positioning, which have evolved. Her work has vividly denounced discourses on the crisis and the discredit of the teaching profession. Her work also highlights resistance and teachers' disconform concerning educational policies. She is the director of the Intertexto Research Group. Her research interests revolve around the struggles of teachers, the constitution of subjects in education, practices of resistance, and subjectivity. Welcome, Pilar Méndez, to this Viva as director of the work that is going to be presented. Well, being introduced all the protagonists of this Viva, I'm going to give the floor to Jeisson. So Jeisson, remember, you have 30 minutes for your presentation. And after that, we're gonna continue with the participation of the panel of examiners. So I'm going to time you. You want me to tell you when you had 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, or just like to say stop?
No, that's 5 minutes before, I think.
Okay, so 5 minutes before, I'm gonna tell you that you had 5 minutes remaining. Okay, so welcome again, everybody. And the floor is for you, Jeisson, and good luck in your presentation.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for being here. Well, to my friends, colleagues, my wife. Thank you, Professor Dr. Pilar Méndez, for who have guided me during these 3 years and a half and helped me with all the process. Thank you, Dr. Núñez, Dr. Guerrero, and Dr. Stefanell for your suggestions and advices previous this presentation, because it helps me a lot in the whole process. So, well, as mentioned before, the title of this project is ELT Colombian Textbook Writer Struggles in the Industry of ELT Textbook Production. This project,
Jeisson, I think we missed sound. We can hear you.
Yo sola, sí.
I think we lost connection with Jeisson, so hold on a second and let's see if he can reconnect. Give us a second, please.
Hola, hola.
Hola, hola.
Okay, Jeisson, you are back. So if you want to display again the screen and then
Sorry, I don't know what happened. That was so weird. So you couldn't listen anything, right?
Yeah, we were in the first slide, so just like share the
Just the
screen, please.
introduction.
Okay. Sorry.
Continue, please.
Okay, so, well, first of all, I would like to tell you who am I. Basically, well, I started when I graduated in the year 2010 at Universidad Distrital in the language program. As soon as I graduated, I started working at some schools, but well, by things of life, I had the chance to start working with some universities, private universities. And there, as you know, we as teachers, usually we have to use the mandatory textbook that we usually have in the lessons. And there, when I had to use the textbook, I also had, as mainly most of the teachers, the language teachers, we use material and we create and adapt material for our classes. So, well, that was in 2010 when I started, well, being immersed as a language teacher in terms of using textbooks and at the same time creating material. After that, in the year 2015, well, I knew that I had to start continue my process of being a teacher. And I enrolled in the master program at Universidad Externado, where I met my mentor in this field, that is Dr. Núñez, in which, well, I had the chance in that time to work with Agustiniana University. When I work at the Agustiniana University, mainly I had to work with gastronomy students. And well, I got the idea, thanks to the advisor in that time, to create 4 series of textbooks in which I tried to join something that is called General English. That was the thing that I knew in that case, and English for specific purposes. So I tried to join both the experience that I have in terms of learning English, teaching English, and the experience in terms of creating and adapting material. So that was the process when I did my master. And well, thanks to that experience that I have, also here I show you some of the photos that I had in terms of creating and designing that material. The idea that I took was basically from what I learned from the books, like the vocabulary, the warm-up, the speaking part. Sometimes, as you notice here, there were some photos from the students that I took from that part. And well, that was the part of when I continue working with materials and the idea of designing materials. 2 years later, after I graduated, well, an article was published at the Externado University too, was called Materials Development in Learning English for Specific Purposes. This book, it was part of a book that is called Materials for Learning of English as Teachers' Professional Growth, under the supervision of Dr. Núñez too. And that was like when I joined the experience that I have had so far. What happened after that, basically in the year 2023, well, I enrolled in the doctoral program and I had the same idea about continue working with materials. But thanks to the professors at the DA and the comments that I received during these 3 years, I started focusing more on who is the person, or in this case, the language teacher who produce and create materials in English, in this case, textbooks. So due to this process, after these years, well, I published the article that was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation in terms of on the ELT textbook writer, a worldwide review on this role, in which, well, later on, I will talk a little bit about that research that I did during these 3 years. And well, nowadays I'm the coordinator in the language department at Universidad Libre, and I still continue working on this process about materials. Well, based on the description of the problem, well, first of all, you know that we as most of the time ELT teachers as consumers of knowledge rather than producers in most of the globe. Textbooks are considered as an authority because they are reliable, valid, and written by recognized publishing industries. In this case, I want to call the attention because, once I have done this research, I noticed that there are 2 types of ELT textbook writer. One is the writer who have worked and have had the opportunity to work by these international big publishing houses. These authors, they have, as I mentioned here, global and local written textbooks which highly included a specific ideologies such as economic and history, And in that sense, they have like the frame in order to publish a book or to release a textbook. But on the other hand, we have the local English textbooks in which local ELT textbook writers, sorry, in which, like in my case, when I work at the Agustiniana, we try to do something by our own knowledge in terms of like what I have here, teachers have been adapting, creating, developing, and generating their own cultural situated EFL materials to cover intercultural features ignored in textbooks. In the same idea, ELT textbook writer attempts to provide students with a set of information that is not readily available. It is unclear why ELT textbook writers in Colombia who possesses expertise, knowledge, and domain-specific skill position themselves for resistance. And in that case, that resistance, as I mentioned, is not easy to endeavor for ELT textbook writer who advocates deviating from the industry framework, as I mentioned at the beginning. Those who have worked or have created material for international publishing houses, they have a framework in which they know how to publish what is trendy, and they want to just do something that is commercial in this case. What I have noticed, what I have done research in this case is this industry, usually the same book that they have designed for Bogota is the same book that they are going to launch in India or in China. So that is part of like being the ELT textbook writer who have worked for the industry and who have plenty of knowledge in this part. And the last part, well, the ELT textbook writer who might claim authorship is not well documented so far, and that is something that I would like to do in the coming years, document the idea of who is that, the struggles that ELT textbook writer have during the edition process, before, during, and after the process. Because in this process, well, it's not only the writer who is in the process, is the editors, the proofreaders, the publisher, and multiple professionals who are involved in the process of creating a textbook. And in the writer is just a year in the process of creating textbooks. And in that sense, I position myself with the idea that, for example, the ELT textbook writer in Colombia, who based on their expertise, knowledge, and domain can position for resistance, or ELT textbook writer who extend the discussion of embracing some ideas from hegemonic practices in the production of ELT textbook while contesting some imperialist practices identified before, during, and after the publication processes. And well, in the number 3, I just want to mention that ELT textbook Colombian writers embrace identity positions, knowledge, and actions, as well as their contradictions, wounds, fears, and resentments. And in this part, once I had a class with Dr. Guerrero, and she just made a comment in terms like, not all the ELT textbook writer probably might have some wounds or fears or resentments. Probably they would like to call the identity position when they are gonna write a book. But that is something that I would like to know and to, well, search during the coming years if it is a good, I mean, probably they're gonna say that it's good or not, being immersed in the part of the industry. And in this case, Spivak lay out the contribution of the ELT textbook writer from a critical perspective, seeking to understand the power relations, as I mentioned before, the power relations that probably we can see inside the industry, the teachers who have worked there, that I'll explain later on, and the local ELT textbook writers who, well, might have another tensions and struggles working by their own during the whole process. In that sense, well, during these years, I did the exercise of writing an article in the profiling exercise. In this case, I analyzed more than 60 articles, but at the beginning, the exercise was not very easy due to it's not specific and it's not easy to find the word ELT textbook writer. And analyzing that word while was not a very easy task. So that's why at the beginning, I tried to do a wording exercise in which I not only find information about words like ELT textbook writer, but I try to use words quite similar to that, like ELT author, ELT authorship, text developer, material designer. Once I did that exercise, well, I span a little bit I spent the number of articles that I found. So I found the first article that called the attention about material design and material development was Lee in 1960. And after there is a gap from 1988, from 1960 till 1988. After in 1988, well, it has spanned a little bit the number of scholars who paid attention more and the idea of creating material, designing material, and the content that we have in textbooks. And we have the years 2013, 14, and 20 with the more prolific years in terms of analyzing this part about who is the author. But once I analyzed the whole articles, well, something that caught my attention was on the right that we have on the map that the United States and the United Kingdom are the more significant in must-be discourses such as guidelines for writers and expert writers' characteristics. In that sense, as I explained before, they give to the whole globe how we should write textbooks and what should we include there, what we shouldn't include there, and they have like a framework in order to publish an article, to publish or to release a book or a textbook with them. On the other hand, we have the other countries that I analyzed, countries like Argentina, Italy, Pakistan, Portugal, Malaysia, Mexico, Kenya, India, Iran, Turkey, Egypt, Japan, Singapore, Vietnam, Korea, China, Russia, Brazil, and Colombia, in which they demonstrate a negative reactions and resistance to collaborating with material produced by large publishing houses and industries. And after analyzing this, I got to the point to analyzing 3 categories in which I could, after analyzing the 60 articles, I could come out with these 3 trends. The first trend, well, there is a top-down hegemonic practice in the production of ELT textbook writer that's subject to the writer. Basically, it means that, as we have the authors here, basically great, that explains better this category. The materials writers conflict in some respect with the views and wishes of other stakeholders in the process, such as publishers and educational authorities. Basically, it's like, for example, when I work with the Agustinian, I wanted to publish something different. Well, the editors and the publisher didn't allow me to include that in the textbook. And that is basically that they have like a frame in which we should use this topic, or probably you cannot mention a specific topic because that is not trendy or that is not very common. Or if you want to just use a different approach or method, you cannot include it in the textbook. The second trend, publishing houses preferences expert ELT textbook writers as model over novice. So Lee expresses, as the same with the idea of the authors that I work in this trend, presents an analysis about what they call expert textbook writer is the one who follows the framework to write textbooks. The perspective of administrators, teachers, and students is that ELT textbook produced by novice and local writers are of poor quality, which provoke them to have more confidence in foreign publication from big publishing industry. So if we analyze this category, basically it's like we, not only teachers, but students and administrators, preferences for big publishing industries textbooks because they are more valid, they are well written, and the conception that they are good for learning English in this case. And the third category, the third trend, is educational publishing industries replicate the model of one culture, one language, ignoring ELT textbook writers' critical cultural views. And well, we have the idea in this, Gokhan usually studied this idea and the same idea of the trend in which most of dominant ideologies component was cultured with a 75% and 77% in local textbooks. And the main components are traditions, norms, beliefs, social values. And it's quite surprising how when they analyze this, they have a very high culture supremacy in terms of learning a foreign language. And due to that, I came with my research question. So what struggles have ELT textbook writers experienced in the production of English language textbooks in Colombia? Thanks to the advice to Dr. Núñez, in which she suggests some subsidiary questions. So what are the counter strategies employed by Colombian ELT textbook writers against the dominance of mainstream publishing houses? Also, what tensions and frictions do Colombian ELT textbook writers encounter within the publishing industry? I'm going to try to solve these questions through the general objective to make visible the struggles experienced by ELT textbook writer in the industry of textbook production, and how I'm going to try to have that objective and the research question through these three specific objectives, in which I identify the struggles faced by ELT textbook writers in Colombian during the production process, before, during, and after, to describe the counterforce strategies employed by Colombian ELT textbook writer against the domination of mainstream publishing houses, and to characterize the tensions, dilemmas, and contradictions faced by local ELT textbook writers within the industry. So, based on those questions, I would like to portray a theoretical framework, which the first concept that I have is ELT textbook writer, a hidden concept. It was pretty similar to a couple of years ago when we talked about material development or material design was not a theoretical framework, was just considered as part of our exercise as teachers. With the ELT textbook writer happens the same, but I would like to call this quote by Sang in terms the textbook writer seems as straightforward as the term ELT author, ELT authorship, test developer, material designer, related to the individual who creates and owns a piece of work or participates in the design and creation of it. So in the coming years, I hope to use this term a little bit more philosophical in terms of using like what Foucault says about the author or what Barthes says about the author. So I plan to expand a little better this idea about the ELT textbook writer. Also, we have authorship, so reveals the ELT textbook writer trajectories towards authorship and hegemonic counterforces. Other that we have is ELT textbook writer in the mainstream industry. So textbooks and books as a door to unveil who have been ELT textbook writer behind the textbook publication. And as Núñez Pardo says, power, knowledge, practices, and textbook content didn't offer opportunities to incorporate interculturality in EFL teaching context. And well, the struggles, as I mentioned before, so ELT textbook writers struggles, so probably about struggles on the self, struggles for recognition, struggles for the rights, struggles for organization, struggles for the payment on English teaching in the arena of textbook creation. When I mention these struggles, probably I can, once I talk to the participants, probably there might be more struggles, or probably I'm not going to focus on these specifically struggles that I have mentioned, but that's what so far, based on my research, I can talk about the struggles in the arena of textbook creation. And based on that, well, the methodology that I'm going to use it is to understand what struggles ELT textbook writers have experienced in producing English textbooks. The methodological design that fits better in this study is, well, a qualitative research developed through a critical paradigm that employs the methodological strategy of narrative interviewing. And well, as Creswell mentions, the importance of engaging deeply with the ELT textbook writer's stories, employing a flexible and reflexible approach to interpretation, and embracing the potential for unexpected insights to emerge from the research process. So basically, the epistemological reflexivity that I want to portray in this arena is three ideas that I have so far, and I will explain now. So the ELT textbook writer, the ghostwriter, and the author. In the first one, well, the ELT textbook writer positions for resistance face hegemonic practices in the production of ELT textbook, and the ghostwriter, ELT textbook writer, is hidden into the market. That ghostwriter is not what we have the concept about ghostwriter. What I want to do in terms of the ghostwriter term, it was an idea that came in my internship, thanks to Professor Dr. Stefanell, in which I explained more or less like what was the idea. He told me, well, this is very similar to what we have, is that term called swap shop. The swap shop, I was not very familiar with the term, but he told me like in China, when they have the swap shops, it's like they produce in a line many jackets in a minute, many shoes, many things. It was quite similar what we have here in the academic sweatshop, in which they hire some teachers and they are hired just to produce and to do something specific for a textbook. So in case that we have a participant that I'll explain later, she was in charge of creating just a listening, an oral exam, or to produce a series of listenings, but she didn't see the ending product of what she was doing. It was just a part of the job. So that ghostwriter is a term that I'm working using the help of the idea of Dr. Stefanell, in which I would like to see how probably in this arena of textbooks, there is a academic sweatshop in terms of producing knowledge. The author, as I mentioned before, the author can ascribe identities and claim identities depending on whether the writer is a social actor, or is active or passive during the process. So in this graph, I would like to mention that sometimes probably the ELT textbook writer is a ghostwriter, probably is an author, and sometimes it changes during the whole process in terms of claiming authorship, because usually the ELT textbook writer is not the author, or the same with the ghostwriter and the same with the author. So that is the epistemology reflexivity that I plan to continue working on during these 2 years. And well, how I'm going to do that? Through narrative interviewing, thanks to one advice of my Dr. Pilar, because that was one of the parts that were quite challenging in terms of what methodology would I use with the participants. But narrative interviewing, well, as Rivera affirms, the narrative structure, the experience, therefore it allowed us to share both life experience and meaning, and the meaning of ELT textbook writers give to what they have lived. As Moan expresses, ELT textbook writers accounts narrative to make sense of life experience and ultimately of our other passage through the word. Also, he mentions as a source of methodology to scrutinize silence and fragment vision of the word. And as Kim also mentioned, access to the self seen as both individual collective construction and connected to life stories of narrators. So that's basically what I would like to do with the participants during the process of carrying out this research in terms of analyzing what is the life experience they have had in the production of textbooks in the inner circle, inside or outside the production of textbooks. So in that sense, we'll continue with the idea. Narrative interviewing is Carnegie Dumisori in 2003 is like the author who explains better how I'm going to use this type of methodology. So control the direction, content, and pace. ELT textbook writer stories, ELT textbook writer experiences, understand writers' behaviors. The first part that I'm going to use, introduction and explanation about the research. So I'm going to explain the participants what is the idea about the project. After we go to the step number 2, the narrative, in which they are going to tell me, well, the narrative they have about the experience they have lived. And the question phase is based on what they have told me, that they are going to tell me. I'm going to ask questions about, well, some things that they might have about that idea. Something that probably is missing that I will to expand a little bit more. And the conclusion, well, I'm going to close that idea that they are going to say with the narrative in order to analyze later on the process. In that sense, I have my 3 or 4 possible participants. I'm gonna explain why 4. The first one is Maria Fernanda Telles. She is a language teacher, and well, I'm so proud that she is gonna help me with being my participant in the project. Why? Because she has been actively involved in research related to ELT material development. Her work has contributed to establishing a dialogue between national scholars and international experts in the field, and her contribution to the field of ELT materials development has been significant and making her a respect figure within the academic community. So I'm very proud that she's gonna be there.
Jeisson, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm very proud that I can count with her contribution into the project. The second one is Tatiana Castillo. She was one of the participants when I did the piloting, and she's now living in Madrid, Spain, but she's really she wants to continue helping me with the process of material of ELT textbook writer. So when she was in Colombia, she worked as an IVTS in IVTS schools where she learned about international policies, but at the same time, she had the chance to work with publishing house in Colombia. She oversaw designing material to teach English. It was a partnership with the SENA and a public institution in Colombia and a company in Canada. So she is an example of what I explained before about the swap shop, because she also told me that she had to design different things and repeat the same exercise many times. And lastly, we have Professor Camilo Mancera Rosso, is a language teacher from National University. And well, he has been working there for more than 10 years. And well, at the beginning, he designed some books for like basic levels, but after he was in the whole process, because many teachers had to design different types of books for Universidad Nacional, and he was in charge of the editing process and the layout and everything concerning to that part. And I had probably another teacher that is as a teacher from Universidad Libre, but I haven't talked to her so far because she's already retired, and I'm trying to reach the idea of trying to have a full participant in the project. And well, lastly, the main contributions to my research will be bring to the main contribution my research will bring to the EL field are significant original contribution to knowledge, methodological and epistemological reflexivity in knowing who the ELT textbook writer is, deep question in my research and tell about the ELT textbook writer in Colombia, and relevance to the field describing my students' needs and impact on the field. And here are the references so far. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeisson, for your presentation. It was very enlightening. Now we're gonna start with the second part of our program for today's Viva. And this is the moment in which the examiners are going to present and introduce their own questions and comments for Jeisson's work. So according to the program, we're going to give the floor first to our international examiner, Dr. Alexander Stefanell. So welcome again to this Viva. The floor is all yours. I just want to remind the examiners that you guys have only 10 minutes to provide your comments and feedback for our presenter. So, Dr. Stefanell.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I think I'm having some problem with connection here at the hotel, and I'm international, but I'm in Colombia right now. I'm in Bucaramanga with a group of students. Okay, but thank you for the invitation, to talk about Jeisson's research. Okay, and I'm gonna read what I have, so far, and I think after that, we just can go into questions or things. Okay, and thank you again for the invitation to analyze and to be part of this proposal. After perusal of writing and revision of Jeisson, I think that your dissertation proposal assesses and aims for originality and novelty of contemporary research in ELT. You have shown that not only do the foreign language research have to do with pedagogical issues such as teaching grammar, listening and reading, etc., but also you have demonstrated the current theoretical pathways, to understand foreign language critical thinking in depth. And here you have the ability to come up with new terms, insights, and that surely will contribute, with the new advances in ELT. You provided a comprehensive, although expecting to be more in-depth during your doctoral dissertation, and more precisely a new perspective of subjectivity, imbricated concept directly linked to what is now a new trend in foreign language education. After your revisions, there is no doubt, actually, that you have a good structure for what it means a doctoral proposal so far. You fulfill what is required to defend your proposal regarding Descripción del Proyecto, Marco Teórico y Estado del Arte, Objetivos Generales y Específicos, Metodología, Propuesta, etc. As a critical point, let me reaffirm that your main topic has not been investigated much in Latin America and or in the United States, except for some research that, as we all know, Dr. Núñez has done about the text. Since people try to touch, sensitive and critical views against big publishing companies, doctoral students and faculty avoid them because many of them are published by these same companies. You had no fear of executing this proposal, and that is a good beginning. This topic adds a great amount of perspective to the ELT, putting the research upside down and giving idea from the global south to the north as the typical norm, quotation mark. You break from this Western tradition and confront a new trend that we should be very proud of from one of the Distrital doctoral students. You face the challenge of being a counterforce. After a deep hands-on work along with your faculty advisor, but mainly your own view as a researcher, I augur a great success for publication, and I highly recommend you to do so, actually. However, this proposal is a good beginning for a better dissertation work in progress or process. I pointed out some issues that you should work on. I think on my first revision, I sent you 14 revisions, which you did, and other things that I'm sure that you will address further ahead. I sent you materials, recommended critical authors, demanded the clarification of concepts like author, writers, authors, asked you for better citations, elaboration of paragraphs, among others, within the application of theoretical approach to be successful in the writing of this dissertation. You did most of it, and thank you for doing that. Overall, I am very glad that you paid attention to most of it, and the expectations for you to finish your dissertation successfully are very high. And if your project and proposal follow the guidelines proposed here after the assessment, I do not doubt that your dissertation will be one of the best that I have witnessed. After spending times with you at home, at Lee University, in Bond Life, it's a coffee shop that we always go. With you during the internship at Lee University, I got very passionate by your research, and I definitely have noticed a big improvement. This research has awakened passion onto your dissertation faculty advisor and myself, of course, and I cannot wait for the good outcome of your findings. I see a very genuine interest from your side, and I also notice a very good improvement regarding your writing. From my side, I would like to see more in-depth research on the subjectivity regarding writer and author, among others, and these concepts should be more clearly developed. I am very satisfied that you did the 16 revisions that I asked you to do, even though you did not send the track corrections as it should be, as it was requested. One more thing that I would like to see in your dissertation, actually, only if it fits, after you talk to the faculty advisor, is the concept of applying ghostwriting and the mobility of the voices an author and writer, and the analysis of academic sweatshops, as explained during my revisions. Do not throw up there things, important concepts, but go deeper with them, expand on them. The success of this topic is in your hands. Do not waste time. Go deeper in your research. Do not analyze things sloppily. Apply and hypothesize concepts and apply them into the writing. This is a beautiful topic, not studied much of or analyzed before as far as I have read, but you need a lot of time to prove evidence. In the same line, I encourage you to have a professional native speaker of English, proofreading, and don't be shy about that. We do that. This document and even your final dissertation, as it still has typos and lack of editing and others. And I understand that you're not an English native speaker, and that is totally fine. I put this comment at the end of this evaluation since my main concern is the way you express your ideas and thoughts, opinions, hypotheses, and complicated statements, and the way that you defend all above. Proficiency and communication are very important, so we as readers can completely understand the writing. And another advice, and a final advice, is that you should facilitate the evaluation task for the readers using the tracks that indicate exactly corrections with pages and sections, etc. And make sure to respond individually to each reader and fulfill what is requested. Thank you so much. And congratulations on those revisions.
Thank you, Dr. Stefanell, for those
Thank
words.
you. Thank you so much, Dr. Stefanell, for your insights and comments on Jeisson's work. Now, I would like to invite to give the floor to Dr. Astrid Núñez, our national examiner. Welcome again, Dr. Astrid Núñez.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Jeisson, so much for this neat and clear presentation. I must say that I'm really happy to see you again, and especially pursuing your doctoral degree. Congratulations. Well, I found your research concerned original and pertinent in the language teaching field. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Astrid. It's like the sound, the volume of the microphone is too low, probably, and we can hear you.
Well, can you hear me now better?
Much better. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt you.
Right. Okay, well, I find your research concerned original and pertinent in the English language teaching field, and more than that, with great possibilities to unveil insightful results or findings, not only on the struggles and dilemmas led by writers in the Colombian industry of coursebook production, but also on the counterforce strategies that they resort to confront the epistemic, sociocultural, and political dominance of regular publishing houses. That is a theme that I really like. I think is really interesting, and it would help the teachers in general who act as authors of books or workbooks to develop a critical, sociocultural, and political awareness. So not only to make resistance to dominant discourses, but also to produce pertinent and relevant localized materials that make sense for our students. So in my view, those results may shed light on both identity of coursebook writers, and more than that, on alternative actions that of teachers empowerment and perhaps the proletarianization of local authors. Because as you wrote in your document, sometimes they hire local writers that for different reasons they don't finish, to they invite other authors to finish the book, and they could have different approaches or different ideologies. So you see that they end up being exploited. And also many conditions regarding the curriculum, the strategies, the activities, the content, the method, everything is literally imposed, even the images. Could you, as an author, you can ask them to include in a given situation people from different nationalities regarding our nationalities in the real, let's say, not only the same North American or British or Canadian or Australian images, or Asian, because they have started to include many images of Asian people, because let's say the books are directed to those big markets. That's why. So when people from Latin America are included, apparently, okay, They seem from Brazil mainly, sometimes Peru or Mexico. In Brazil and Mexico, they are large markets. So there is, let's say, an economic reason behind many decisions that these publishing houses, okay, made. So also, I have noted that you have incorporated the suggestion made by in your proposal regarding subsidiary questions, regarding theoretical sources, organization of the test, and the proofreading process, which I really appreciate. Now, concerning the question I'm expecting to ask, I only have one on the possibility that the critical paradigm, together with the narrative interview as a methodological strategy, offer to foster social justice from the perspective of local coursebook writers. Because it is written there, but it is not really developed. Okay, when you mentioned that the use of this, let's say, methodological approach, this combination can provide possibilities to foster social justice. I guess it needs to be further developed. And finally, I have a suggestion. If you would like to take Jeisson, you need a fourth. You would like to have a fourth participant. I think Marcela Chapeton can be. She has worked in developing materials for primary students, for secondary students, and I think she has a lot to say regarding identities. Marcela Chapeton from Universidad Pedagógica. Okay? And that's all. Congratulations again. I enjoy listening to you. I can see that you have grown professionally and academically. And thank you for this kind invitation to Dr. Castañeda, Dr. Méndez, and Dr. Helena Guerrero. You're all together at the Universidad Distrital. This is something that I really like. And I can be a little bit biased because I do love this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Núñez, for your insights, comments, and all the ideas that you have brought together in order to assess Jeisson's work. Well, now it is the turn for our local examiner, Dr. Carmen Helena Guerrero. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, my dear Harold. First of all, I would like to congratulate you, Jeisson, because I see a lot of work. I see a significant change from the first version of your proposal. So I really, really congratulate you on that because it shows the commitment that you have towards your degree. And that is very encouraging for us as your teachers to see that you took seriously all the comments and suggestions that we made. So good job on that. Jeisson, also, you know that I am a fan of your work from day one. I really love what you're doing, and I think it is very relevant. As Dr. Stefanell was saying, this is something that has not been done. So you are really breaking ground here with this work. So that's wonderful. That's a great opportunity for you to contribute to the ELT field. And I think particularly that this contribution is going to be supported on a South, epistemological South perspective. And I think that is very important to keep on, I'm going to use this word, colonizing the colonized field. So, but colonizing from the South. So I really congratulate you on that, Jeisson. I think it's great. I have some comments. Well, first, I like what you did with your locus of enunciation because it allows us to locate where your interest in this topic comes from, and that that helps your readers to understand where you are coming from. So love that. I also love that you were unpacking the complexity of what textbook writer is, because it's not a simple, a straightforward phrase. There is a lot behind textbook writer. So thank you, because you were kind of showing the complexity of what you're meaning by writer in your proposal. I guess with time and as you get to know your research better, you will be able to either speak to textbook writer or adopt a different name. But I'm pretty sure it will unfold as long as you get familiar with what you're doing. But by now, I think you did a great job doing that. Also, I think I said this during the classes, and is that you develop this comprehensive profiling, very rigorous tasks, very systematic, and then the results are clear, and I think they speak by themselves. I also think you refine your research question and your research objectives, and they sound way better than in the first version. And I have some comments in regards to the theoretical framework, and is that to me is not yet clear the relationship with the different construct that you have, and then authorship. I was like a little bit lost, like wasn't very clear for me what you were meaning with this, so it would be really helpful if you can clear that for me, please. I also think that you have done a good job fitting the theoretical framework, but I think you still need a long way to go in terms of the theoretical aspect. Again, I think you have done a great job there, but more depth is needed, and also basically you focus your work, your theoretical framework on the writer, author, etc. But I think, for example, there are no discussion about the industry. There is nothing about that in your theoretical framework. In the industry of producing textbooks, what is the place of textbooks in education in general, and in particular in ELT? Why are they so important and so relevant in ELT? There is something that needs to be discussed there. So I think that is something that you should include in your theoretical framework. And also, I was a little bit confused when you were talking about the epistemological reflexivity, the way you're connecting these terms that you have there wasn't very clear. So if you could clear that for me, it would be very helpful too. And well, I know that of course, this is just a proposal, Jeisson. But when you talk about the contributions, I think your contributions are way bigger than what you mentioned in the slide. And I think Dr. Stefanell mentioned some of the contributions that your work might have, and I think you need to pay attention to that, because I think your work will be in that direction. I think the contribution will be huge, and again, way far from what you just mentioned in the slide. Well, again, I think you're doing this groundbreaking work, and I agree with Dr. Stefanell that you need to be cautious about the term ghostwriter, because it has a completely different meaning. So just like pay attention to that. And then I also like to side with something Dr. Núñez mentioned about the struggles and the possibilities of some of the writers to be, ay, se me olvidó la palabra, pero como utilizados, es que no recuerdo bien, pero como también prestar atención.
Explotados.
Explotados, thank you, Billy, yes, exacto. Entonces, como también prestar atención a eso. And I think, Jeisson, that, perdón que me devuelvo un poquito, pero es que en el profiling, I think you did a good job describing the profiling, but also I think you were a little bit shy in taking a more critical stance towards why these trends that you identify mean for us in ELT. For us as scholars that are trying to contest hegemonic practices. So don't be shy and be a little bit more critical about these things. And the other thing is, give me a sec. Se me perdió. Sí. We know, we have already known the participants that you are inviting to the dissertation, but I think it is also important to have an idea of why you invited these particular participants. Again, you were unpacking all todo gama de diferentes writers que hay. Entonces, como que por qué escogiste o invitaste a estas personas en particular. Because out of that universe of textbook writers, Colombian textbook writers, there might be different types of writers. So why did you choose to invite these particular ones? And I think it's up to you as a researcher to do that. I completely agree that as a researcher, there is walking towards the decoloniality of research. I think it is very okay as a researcher to say these are my participants. But tell us your rationale behind, or why did you invite these? Why did you invite Tatiana? Why did you invite, I'm sorry, I don't remember the names of the other participants, but why? Just tell us why, that's fine. Well, I think that's all. Jeisson, again, congratulations, because you have put lots of effort. This is a wonderful, wonderful topic. Please keep up the good work. Good luck with the rest of the study. And congratulations again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Carmen, Helena. And I want to thank, on behalf of Universidad Distrital and our doctoral program, our panel of examiners. Thank you so much for all your comments and questions. Now I would like to invite Jeisson. I'm going to give you 10 minutes for you to, try to consolidate a general answer, but if you want to address any specific question or comment made by any of the examiners, please feel free to do so. I'm going just to give you 10 minutes so that you can support and respond to any of the questions or comments made by the panel of examiners. So start now, Jeisson.
Okay, so first of all, thanks a lot for the comments and good comments, because it motivates me in continue learning and keep going with the process, because I know there are many things to do so far in terms of like the epistemology, try to analyze. I know that the term ghostwriter is not what we know about ghostwriter, and I know that I have to work more in that idea about the epistemology reflexivity in terms of the ghostwriter. But I really want to thank you for the good things that you mentioned in terms of the question, that was something that has been during the beginning of the process changing constantly. And well, like saying that now it's much better than a couple of years ago, that's really nice. So thank you for those. And the same with the locus of enunciation, that I knew I had quite some difficulty at the beginning. So that was also good. Thank you, Dr. Núñez, for the name. I'm gonna have her into account because I didn't know that. In terms of the participants, I sent lots of emails to some people who have worked for different publishing houses, some teachers who have created local material. But in that case, well, by chance I met Dr. Professor Tesis at Ascon one day, and by chance I just talked to her, and that was she was, because I didn't have her into account because I know that she is a big scholar and it's not very easy to reach Professor Tesis, but she was really nice as when I did the master, so that was nice. And with Tatiana, well, because I want to continue having her because she has worked with the industry, and I also talked to her because she worked with other teachers, but she didn't reply. And one of them replied, but it was quite busy, and it's not very easy to have the time to have the teachers. The teacher Carlos, he also answered, and that's why he's in the process. And well, I'm waiting. Probably I can have more participants during the next semester that I plan to start having those narratives. But that is something that is continue process of working in that. Thank you, Dr. Stefanell. And I think the three comments are very common in terms of like the proofreader, like some isolated ideas that I know that I have to still working on in the process. And to start like what Dr. Stefanell like say, don't give ideas just by saying everything has a purpose. I think also Dr. Guerrero said the same. Like you have to be conscious about saying this and why you're mentioning that, because probably I have just the idea about the word, but when we say it like, hey, it has something or it expresses something different. So thank you for those suggestions, and I will really have them into account in the coming years. I hope so. So thank you so much for your time and for being here. I think I don't have more like what I wrote here.
Okay, thank you, Jeisson, for your responses to the panel of examiners. Before we go to deliberate, I want to briefly give the floor to Dr. Pilar Méndez. So sorry for interrupting your sabbatical, but but welcome to this Viva, and thank you so much for directing Jeisson in his doctoral research process. So welcome, Pilar.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the members of this panel of examiners for your comments, your suggestions. I think that this epistemological surveillance is quite important at this doctoral level. So Jeisson, thank you for your presentation. I found it very thought-provoking. I think that we have listened to you multiple times, and every time you present, there is something new that we like, there is something new that we need to fix. And I think that today's comments are very, very important for us to continue exploring and expanding the senses and the meanings that this research will have for the ELT field locally and also globally. I would like just to comment a little bit in some comments, and I agree with Dr. Stefanell in his enthusiasm and optimism about the novelty of the topic. From this critical perspective, Jeisson is working on, but I do also agree with Carmen and Helena that we need to be more aggressive, if you allow me like the term, to make visible what does it mean to be critical. And I also receive with many good positive view the comment that Dr. Núñez did today about the importance of giving more sense to this connection between the critical paradigm and the social justice approach. And I think that this goes hand in hand with what Carmen and Ella said about don't be so shy, like in that sense. So I agree with that. So I've got a little bit excited, when Dr. Núñez was commenting about how, because you have wrote textbooks, in Colombia, and you have tons of expertise, what we call here like the black box, things that we don't know because we don't have, at least in my case, I don't have that expertise of being working with big publishing industries, creating materials, etc., etc. And those knowledges that are there, subjugated, invisibilized, and also exploited by the industry needs more attention, and in that sense, I've got many expectations, and I share the same expectation Dr. Stefanell during the internship was really excited about, and he told me about, wow, this is really an important topic, and you need to continue doing what you are doing there in Colombia. And I'm so impressed about what you are doing there. Tons of expectations, and when we decided to work with Alexander, Astrid, and Carmen Helena, there is a rationale behind that, because we consider that this is a team of examiners pushing together, helping Jeisson to get the best of the proposal. So thanks a lot for that. And Jarito, thank you so much for your support. Now that I'm on my sabbatical leave, tu apoyo aquí. O sea, este hombre es el hombre orquesta, hace de todo. Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Okay, thank you so much, Pili, for your works and for your intervention. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna ask Ingeniero Nelson to teleport us to a different room so that the examiners could deliberate about what has just happened. So, Ingeniero, buenas tardes, Ingeniero Nelson. Dr. Astrid Núñez and Dr. Carmen Helena Guerrero for your insights. Núñez and Dr. Carmen Helena Guerrero for your Dr. Carmen Helena Guerrero as our local examiner to read the minutes for this Viva. Thank you so much, Carmen Helena.
My pleasure. Well, good afternoon again. Voy a leer el acta de sustentación, Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas, doctorado interinstitucional en educación, acta de sustentación pública, proyecto de tesis doctoral, acta número 5, 2024. El miércoles 5 de junio de 2024, el doctor Alexander Alfredo Stefanell Ballesteros, doctor en literatura latinoamericana y profesor e investigador de Lee University en Cleveland, Estados Unidos, videoconferencia. La doctora Astrid Núñez Pardo, doctora en ciencias de la educación y profesora e investigadora de la Universidad Externado de Colombia, Bogotá, Colombia, videoconferencia. Y la doctora Carmen Helena Guerrero, Nieto, doctora en Second Language Acquisition and Teaching y profesora e investigadora del doctorado interinstitucional en educación, sede Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas, Bogotá, videoconferencia, se reunieron como jurados evaluadores del proyecto de tesis doctoral titulado ELT Colombian Textbook Writers Struggles in the Industry of ELT Textbook Production, de autoría de Jeisson, Méndez, Lara, código 2020-260-1046, dirigido por el doctor Harold Andrés Castañeda Peña, paréntesis, encargado, profesor e investigador en el énfasis de ELT Education del doctorado interinstitucional en educación, sede Universidad Francisco José de Caldas. Luego de escuchar la sustentación del proyecto de tesis en mención, el panel evaluador concluyó que este es aprobado. En constancia firman el doctor Alexander Alfredo Stefanell Ballesteros, la doctora Astrid Núñez Pardo y la doctora Carmen Helena Guerrero Nieto. Entonces, queda leída el acta.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeisson. And thank you so much to our panel of examiners. On behalf of Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas, we really thank you a lot for the contributions that you have made to Jeisson's work. And I think it's going to be brilliant when we hear in a couple of years, or I don't know when, his Viva for the dissertation. So thank you ever so much for your wonderful help. Thank you so much, Pilar, for directing Jeisson, and thank you, Jeisson, for incorporating the feedback, listening to your examiners, listening to Pilar, and all the great work that you have done so far. Okay, so with these final words, I think we had to conclude our Viva for today. Thank you very so much, everyone.